financial literacy levels among small-scale producers, contribution among associations and small-scale producers. Component 5 is on fairness in private sector-led backward integration schemes. Component 6, legal and regulatory priorities. And component 7 is looking at how to critically engage stakeholders to ensure the growing success of the agribusiness sector. Now I'm going to go through this component one after the other. Next. The outline of the NIAA itself is such that every bit of each and every of the component I mentioned is further broken into specific activities that should be done either within the short term or the long term, and is clearly stated, as you will subsequently see. Next. Now, component 1. Component 1, this table provides us with the agenda for improvement of governance structure of agricultural cooperatives and associations. During the development process, we had rigorous discussions looking at the different challenges and also the opportunities that are to do with the agricultural cooperatives governance structure. And the contributions we got during that development process provided the information we have synthesized and I'm presenting here under component 1 in this table. Some of the challenges are outdated legal frameworks, inadequate transparency during registration of agricultural cooperatives, inadequate financial linkages, weak public-private partnerships, insufficient data on the small-scale producers in Nigeria, inadequate capacity building. So for us to understand what we did was to look at all these challenges activities, the time frame that we thought was appropriate for implementation, and even provide go through each and every of the component assigned to our group, look at the content and see, since it's a review, see what is missing, see what is not properly placed. and guide will also be provided to achieve that assignment when the time comes. So, for example, looking at the outdated legal frameworks, the suggestion during that development process was that we should have a review and also update the legal frameworks for the registration and also governance of the agricultural cooperatives in Nigeria. The activities that should be done in line with that is to conduct some legal reviews and also update the Cooperative Act that we have at present. And to do this, the government and legal experts will play a cardinal role in doing that. And we envisage that this should be a short term, something that could be done between 6 and 12 months. And we should be able to track progress of the legal reviews as they commence, and also monitor implementation of the updated legislation. For inadequate transparency during registration, the action plan is to enhance transparency during the registration, but specific activities are also identified. The activities include implementation of transparent registration process, monitor and audit the registration. To monitor and audit the registration. I can vividly remember that one of the challenges that was discussed thoroughly here during the development process is that there is no clear update of the status of some of these cooperatives. Once they are registered, nobody follow up to find out whether they have continued to do what they have proposed to do, whether they are active or they are non-active. So it's difficult. We do not have any database in the country where you will look at and say, okay, these cooperatives are the active ones, and so any cooperative can resurface if there is just any activity. So it's one of the reasons that one was proposed. The stakeholder will be government and then the cooperative bodies. It should be short term. And the mechanism for the M&E is to track implementation of transparent registration processes and monitor and audit findings and address any identified issues. Inadequate financial linkages. The action plan is to facilitate financial linkages by organizing stakeholder meetings. I'm now going to the activities. And we need to also develop financial linkage programs, specific programs for financial linkage. The government and the financial institutions were identified as major stakeholders in doing this, and it's a medium-term 12 to 24-month action plan. We need to measure participation in stakeholder meetings, track the number and effectiveness of financial linkages programs once that commence as a means of monitoring and evaluating the implementation of this action plan. Weak public-private partnership. We need to strengthen public-private partnership. How? The activities have tried to spell out, create the PPP frameworks, facilitate regular PPP meetings, and to this effect, the government and the private sector were identified as key stakeholders. And this will be an ongoing activities, and we have also spelled out clearly what we will do for the monitoring and evaluation. Insufficient data on SSPs. The action plan is to implement needs assessment and data collation. We believe that we have pockets of data in different databases, but they are not properly collated to have a central database that will be used for coordination, for coordinated activities. So this was suggested. And to implement this action plan, the following activities were also outlined. One, conduct surveys and data collection, and then develop the SSP databases. The private sector, NGOs, are key stakeholders to this. Inadequate capacity building, we need to conduct capacity building programs. We need to have capacity building programs. To do this, we need to organize training workshops, develop educational materials that are relevant to the context of the targeted audience. And the government and the financial institutions and NGOs are important, and this is an activity that will be continuous. It will be ongoing. And to be able to monitor and evaluate that, we need to continue to track participation in training programs and also evaluate the effectiveness of the training materials that we have developed and we are going to use or are using for the capacity building. Next. Now, for component 2, which is enhancing financial literacy levels among small-scale producers, the challenges that were discussed include low adoption of digital technologies, limited financial literacy, lack of standardized financial models, high interest rate on funds, fragmented support efforts. We have a number of programs, we have a number of donor agencies, we have a number of projects that are being implemented towards this, but the efforts are not properly coordinated. High interest rate, yes, I have mentioned that, and then also the government support gaps. Now, to address each and of this challenge, looking at the opportunities on ground, the stakeholders that worked during the development process of this document recommended that for low adoption of digital technologies, we should leverage digital technologies by carrying out the following activities. One, provide digital literacy training. Two, distribute digital tools, and the government, telecom companies, NGOs will play a cardinal role. For limited financial literacy, we need to organize capacity building programs that are targeted specifically at that. And we need to therefore conduct financial literacy workshops. We need to develop financial education content. And the financial institutions and NGOs are central to that. For lack of standardized financial models, we need to develop standardized financial models, and to do that as an action plan, we need to create specific financial model templates. We need to train the small-scale producers on using these models, and the government and the financial experts are important stakeholders in doing that. For high interest rate on funds, the action plan is to provide access to low interest funds. Since the major target is the small scale producers. Some of the activities that need to be done include negotiation with financial institutions, and also creation of some low-interest loan programs. And the government and the financial institutions during a medium-term time frame are key stakeholders. Fragmented support efforts. We need to strengthen public-private partnerships, and the activities that need to be done to implement that action plan include establishing joint initiatives, facilitating regular collaboration meetings, the government, the private sector, the NGOs are important, and this is going to be an activity that will be continuous. The government support gaps. To overcome that challenge, the government support for financial literacy program, we have to look at that and implement a program. And the activities are develop government-led programs and also allocate funding for financial literacy. The government and educational institutions will play cardinal role in doing that. Next. Component 3 is developing a comprehensive framework for sustainable financial inclusion. And the challenges that were discussed during the development process are outlined as inadequate baseline data, some regulatory gaps that were identified, inadequate collateral systems, ineffective commodity boards, limited access to financial services in rural areas, and the issue of poor micro finance support. Action plans were also suggested during the development workshop. For inadequate baseline data, we need to conduct baseline assessment and record properly and document. And to do that, we need to perform comprehensive surveys. We need to analyze the value chain data so that we will not be basing everything on general recommendations. The government research institutes, the NGOs have cardinal role to play. For regulatory gaps, we need to implement regulatory reforms by reviewing existing regulations and proposing and implementing new reforms. The government and the legal experts have key roles to play there. In adequate collateral system, we need to establish the National Collateral Registry, and to do that, we need to develop collateral registry infrastructure. We need to implement also the collateral registration process. The government, the financial institutions will play a cardinal role. You will agree with me that this action plans and the activities that are outlined were done by people that were experts in their fields. Just as we are going to do today during the development process, the groups were broken based on where the participants belongs to. So that is why we were able to come up with all this. For limited access to financial services in rural areas, the action plan was that we have to harness technology for financial services. We cannot reach everybody individually. The use of technology is very, very important. And so we need to develop mobile banking solutions. We need to train the SSPs on the use of the digital financial services that will come along with those mobile solutions to improve the access. The government, the tech companies will play cardinal role on this. For microfinance support, we need to promote microfinance institutions and commodity-based organizations, and to do that, support for the creation of microfinance programs is an activity which is very important, and also we need to facilitate community-based financial inclusion initiatives. The government, the microfinance institutions, and NGOs to achieve that. Next. Bear with me, it will soon be over. The structure of the tables is systematic, only that the content varies according to the different component of the NIAA. I'm taking a little bit time to go through it, because without this component, the exercises we intend to do today will be very difficult, especially for some of us that are coming for validation and have not participated in the development process. We need to be conversant with this. Conflict resolution among associations. The challenges identified during the development process of the NIAA are lack of standard operating procedures, lack of effective communication, lack of equal opportunities for members of agricultural cooperatives, marginal abuse of power, lack of resources. There will always be lack of resources. So, poorly defined roles and responsibilities of members of the cooperatives is also a major challenge. And all these were identified as some of the challenges related to conflict among associations. The action plans include: one, for the first challenge, develop comprehensive SOPs for associations. We have to form a committee to draft the SOPs. We need to review and approve the SOPs by legal experts, the government agencies, association leaders, and legal experts will play a role here. The time frame is given. Some of the things we should watch out for monitoring and evaluation are also stated. Lack of effective communication. We need to establish communication protocols. The activities are to develop the communication plan, train members on effective communication. Something is hidden there. We are to develop effective communication plan and then train members on the effective communication. The stakeholders include the association leaders and also communication experts. For lack of equal opportunities for members of agricultural cooperatives, we need to ensure equitable opportunities by implementing policies for equal opportunities and also monitor adherence to the policies. And to this, the association leaders, the government agencies are very important. For abuse of power, we need to implement checks and balances. So we have to establish oversight committees, and we need to also conduct regular audit. And the government agencies and associations are central to that. Lack of resources, we need to mobilize resources for associations by identifying funding opportunities, by developing resource allocation plans, assist them on this, and the government agencies, NGOs, and private sector will play a cardinal role on this. And for poorly defined roles and responsibilities of members, we need to clearly define roles and the responsibilities of the members. We have cooperative bylaws. I know some of these are there, but the committee that, the group that worked on this felt that Perhaps some of those roles and responsibilities, even though enshrined and stated in the bylaws, are not too clear to the members. We have to do that. So the activities will include drafting and draft and disseminate the role descriptions clearly, to train members on their specific roles, and the leaders of the associations and experts are also required to do that. Next, we have 7 components. Next, now, conflict resolution among associations. Did you move forward or backward? Now, 5, fairness in private sector-led backward integration schemes. Risks of farmers' default and insecurity is one of the challenges. Legal and regulatory gaps, climate change and yield decline, and then financial and infrastructure gaps were some of the challenges identified. And also for that, specific action plans were outlined, and the activities that should be done similarly also outlined, along and tallied with the stakeholders that will be responsible for doing that, the time frame and the M&E component. Next. It's a continuation of the other one. Next. Legal and regulatory priorities. The challenges that were discussed include regulations for indigenous seeds, gaps in existing legal and regulatory frameworks affecting pay